So today I'm going to discuss Anxious People by Fredrik Backman. The reason why I chose this book because recently I have read his previous work, and that was my first book by him called The Man Called Thorogh, and it ticked all the right boxes that I usually look for in a good book. The author had an excellent sense of humor which got me tickling. The character exploration was out of this world. Like, I knew the main character by the end of the book inside out. Like, I don't even know my relatives or my friends for that matter that close or that deeply as I knew this character, and that's a fact and a good thing. Overall, the previous book was just excellent and I enjoyed it very, very thoroughly. That is the reason why I chose this book, or I just wanted to explore more literature by Fredrik Backman, and that's why here we are discussing Anxious People. So coming to the plot of this book, Anxious People, it is basically a hostage drama slash probable bank heist situation, and all this is being investigated by two police officers who are father-son duo. Basically, the alternating chapters are presented between the investigation which is taking place in the police station and actual crimes, not per se crime but actual hostage situation which had taken place in the apartment. When I read the book summary, I basically knew this much and nothing more, nothing less. So I just got right into this book without any expectations, or maybe I had some expectations related to the author's previous work. So did I like the book? Yes and no. Yes, because Fredrik Backman's he has a certain sense of humor which I just get it, and there are very few writers who have that kind of writing style. I can just laugh and enjoy the humor which is presented in a very subtle manner throughout the book, like in this book, which was absolutely a thrilling experience for me. And I partly enjoyed this book because of those little funny anecdotes or little funny lines which the author just sprinkles here and there throughout the chapters. Another thing which I liked about this book was the writing style of the author. As I said before, there are alternating chapters. Like, one chapter explains the investigative procedure into the police station, or in the police station where all the hostages have gathered and they are being interviewed by the police officers, the duo, I think Jack and Jim, whom I mentioned before, and they are basically investigating this whole situation by calling the hostages one by one inside the investigation room, and literally their interview is presented as a one-on-one conversation, and that consists of a small chapter. And the next chapter explains the nature of the characters or some past incident in the character's life, the same character which is being interviewed in the previous chapter. So we get to know the previous incidents or a specific incident which got the character into the hostage situation, which led the character to just be in that apartment at the same time. So these alternating chapters were kind of a different thing and a refreshing thing for me to look forward in this book, along with another thing which were the cliffhangers. So at the end of each chapter, the Backman has intentionally put some point which will make you again tickle your mind, like what is happening, what will happen next, should I just read the next chapter or should I just take a break? So that was the kind of thing which got me to finish this book. Like, if there were no cliffhangers at all, I probably would have just lazily completed this book in like a month or 2 months, but because of these small cliffhangers, I just finished the book within a week in spite of my hectic schedule at home. Another point which made me like this book, or which because of which I liked the book, were the characters. They were not some superhero or some robots, perfect little creatures who just went out to save the world, but those characters were you and me, like humans with real emotions, real everyday struggles, who had real problems which I could relate to personally. And yeah, these characters were human with little imperfections, little or more imperfections. That is why I could relate to them and not just look up to them. There were also some main or specific points which I did not expect in this book, or would have just cut out from the book if I would have written it. But that's just my opinion. You will maybe like these points, but I'm just telling my personal opinion. So there were some characters which I liked, I rooted for, I look forward to their story, I liked their past experiences, their past stories. But there were a few characters who I think if they weren't there in the book, there would have been no difference in the story or the plot of the book, and also they had no such contribution to the story. Few characters including London, who is the bank receptionist, estate agent, who is annoying as hell. Like, I just skipped some parts which involved her, because she kept on repeating the same lines and it was supposed to be funny, but I didn't find it funny at all. And the rabbit, I forgot the name of the character, but he is the character who kind of, actually he moves the story on, but character in itself, I didn't like the character. Like, he was pretty annoying and I just couldn't bear reading about whatever his name is. But if the character would have been interesting to look forward to, then I would have perhaps rooted for that specific character too. The most important point in this book which got me annoyed, or the point which made me not like this book so much, was the relationship between our two protagonists, which are the two police officers, the father-son duo, Jack and Jim. So they had their story, they had their family story, their personal struggles in the police station, why each one of them chose to become a police officer. They had their own struggles and stories before choosing the career which they were in. All that aside, I think there are many examples of the books where a father-son relationship is explored in such a way that their bond eventually becomes stronger, interesting to look forward to as the story progresses. But here, even though they both of them were like the protagonists of the whole plot or the story, I did not like the kind of relationship they had with each other. Like, it was not close obviously, but it was not interesting at all. Okay, there is the father, he is the son, and they have certain conversations with each other, that's it. There is no real connection. Those specific points or those specific experiences which made their bond stronger, or which made any extremes would have done with the bond, would have gotten more stronger or more worst with those situations they were in, or those experiences they were in. But I somewhat did not like exploration of their relationship which the author has done throughout the book. The son is constantly annoyed by the actions of his father. The father is always looking in a helpless manner or a pitiful manner towards his son, and always is kind to him, but the son does not reciprocate that feeling even once in the book. So that got me a little annoyed. But anyways, leaving them aside, the favorite character which I just liked in this book was that of Zara. So she's a middle-aged woman, well after her, in her 50s or 60s, I don't know, but she's that woman who is at the top of her game. she has achieved everything in her life, and she's a boss, basically a boss lady and a badass who basically doesn't care about any people she's with, the emotions of the people around her, despite of their age, their situation, their gender, etc. She does not care about people at all. And actually that should be a bad thing, but the points she puts forward too, I just agreed upon all the points. Maybe I'm like her, I don't know, but I specifically was looking forward to her interaction with her psychologist. She was visiting this therapist slash psychologist, and they just met once a week in her office, and those conversations were out of this world. Like each and every word that the author has described, I just read it once again after I finished the book, and it was something which I haven't read in a book for a long time. Rather than enjoying the bond between the two protagonists, I just enjoyed the conversations and the evolving relationship between the psychologist and Zara. There is actually a stunning or a shocking revelation about why she is going to that specific psychologist. So I can safely say that this is a plot driven as well as a character driven book, because the plot, we already know the plot in the first 3 or 4 chapters. We know what is going to happen eventually, what are we going to be thrown into what situation. We only know that there are 13 or so hostages being held in an apartment, but by the end of the book we know heavy details of these characters. And yes, there is a specific point which I forgot to mention earlier. It is that the city has a bridge, so it is in the center of the city, and everyone living in the city can see the bridge from somewhere, some side of their house that they are living in, and basically everyone knows that there is a bridge, and because it is a pretty huge bridge. The story is that the son, the police officer's son, and Jack or Jim, whoever it is, the son, when he was a teenager, he basically saw 2 people commit suicide from that bridge. So one of them, despite of him telling them not to jump, one of them did jump and die, and one of them did not jump and came back. So that is the whole point of the story, and how it is really connected to the climax of the story. Giving you no spoilers at all, this is the main point on which the story basically revolves, and all the characters somehow are connected indirectly or directly to this bridge. I found this book pretty interesting, and I hope that you give it a read too.